Blessed be his holy name forever. He is strength, he is power, he is everything that exists. He knows the end even before the beginning. Nothing can stand against him. I give glory and honor and praise unto his name. And I thank him for this day. Glory be to his name. Now, first of all, let me thank the MC for the wonderful things he said about me. He's done a lot of research. I don't know how he managed to get all my names. I thank God for his life. I thank God for this gathering. And before anything else, I go to the protocols. His Excellency, the Governor of Kogi State, my dear friend and brother, Dr. Yaya Bello, my dear distinguished brother, the Chairman of the campaign organization, Senator Jonathan Zwingina, a man of great distinction, a man of excellence, and one whom I have immense pride in. The President of the NUJ and the Guild of Editors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, friends and brothers, it's an honor for me to come here and say a few words about somebody that I've come to know very well over the last 1 year. Who is Yaya Bello? Well, first of all, before I answer that question, let me say this. I've been in this game for a very long time indeed, since 1990. And I've seen a lot, and I've interacted with many. I've seen the ups and I've seen the downs. And virtually every single one of the major players that are involved in this political game today, I know them in varying degree. And some of them I've worked closely with them. And I can assure you that before I will take a stand on an issue and make a choice about an individual, it means I've done my research, it means that I'm overwhelmingly convinced, it means that I believe that I'm in the right place, doing the right thing. And I can say without any fear of contradiction that Yaya Bello is head above shoulders anybody else that is seeking to win the nomination of our party, indeed anybody else that has up till now come out to say he wishes to be the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is the measure of the man. He's a good man, he's a man that is courageous, he is decisive, he is strong, he's focused, and he's very clear about what he wants to achieve. He speaks for many. He has reached out to a constituency that most politicians simply ignore because they've taken it for granted. His emphasis has been on the youth and on the women. Well, you really don't have to be in politics in Nigeria for long to know that most of our politicians and leaders really do not think about the youth and the women. In fact, the youth and the women are very rarely in the room where major decisions are taken. So to that extent, he's unique, and he's clear, and he's focused about what he wants to achieve. But most important of all, let's look at some of the achievements, which a lot of people are not aware of. Some very serious issues. How come it is that a man that has done so well in his state, that has managed to achieve so much in Kogi State, how come it is the Nigerian people and the Nigerian media has refused to celebrate it? They simply don't report the truth. It's almost as if somebody has gripped the media and used them to simply propagate disinformation, particularly about Kogi State. Now, this happens a lot in this country, especially where you see somebody that's rising up in the political field, the political realm, and the powers that be, those that believe they must rule forever from all over the country, feel threatened, and they go into a systematic disinformation campaign where they spend a lot of money to suppress the truth and to spread lies and deceit. When you look at the record of the governor in Kogi State, it is absolutely astounding. Yet how many people people know this? How many people, out of those that know it, how many celebrate it? How many talk about it? That is essentially the problem that we have in this country. The refusal to celebrate excellence. But if it's somebody else that has bags of money and tons of influence over the media, they will celebrate them for doing absolutely nothing. So I would suggest strongly that it is in the interest of your future and our future as a nation to begin to retrace these steps and to begin to report accurately and speak the truth. And speak the truth about what some people have achieved and what their credentials really are. Now, we're entering into a new world now. A world that's very different to the one from before. And I honestly believe that this man was created and brought into the political game, into this realm, specifically for this time. We're entering a world where it is now being reported in international media that ISWA, that is ISIS West Africa, has more activity in Nigeria than even in Iraq. We're entering the world where COVID-19 is ruling in the affairs of men, and he's one of those that stood against that courageously and said, not in my state, not in my country, and stood his ground. Not many politicians can do that, but he did it successfully, and he's been vindicated. We live in a world where the Ukrainian crisis and the war that's going on there is bound to have implications for all of us, our economy, and so many things. So for all these reasons, we cannot afford to make a mistake come 2023. Right now, the fight, the battle is within our party. We're trying to ensure that he wins the nomination. After that comes the big battle against the other side, and I look forward to that. But first we have this one. And to win this one, we have to be specific and clear about achievements. Not about what somebody did when he was governor many years ago, not about what somebody else did when he was a commissioner or when he was a minister many years ago, but what they're doing now. That is the relevant issue. And just look at it. This country would have been at war, and I really do wonder why it is that some of the people that are involved that knew about this do not talk about this more. I happen to know because I was there. Had it not been for him and his efforts, this country would have been at war a few months ago. If you want to know what war looks like, ladies and gentlemen, go and watch CNN today and see what's happening in the Ukraine. This country would have been at war had it not been for him and the mandate that President Buhari gave to him to settle the food embargo crisis and to ensure that we do not begin to kill each other in this country on regional lines. Because that's what some people had in mind. He put a stop to it, and he ensured we pulled back from the brink. And to God be the glory for that, but the credit goes to him, because he negotiated, he persuaded, he faced down those who needed to be faced down when they made threats. And he went back to the president with a successful report, which astounded even the villa itself. Nobody can take that away from him. And that is when I realized that this is a man of extraordinary talent and distinction, and he's a man that could lead. Secondly, look at the party itself, our party, the APC. He is consistent and strong and focused and a good friend. He stood by his friends in the party, and he stood by Mr. President when things became a little bit shaky. And again, he pulled the party back from the brink. I would say, of all the governors in our party, he was the one that was the most firm in his resolve to stand on truth and to stand by the president and to ensure that things went the way that they did. And I was very impressed with his efforts there. That's who he is. And I witnessed him doing it. Again, you look at the efforts he made in terms of people crossing over from the PDP and joining the APC. I can tell you without fear of contradiction that had it not been for him and the efforts of Maimala the former national chairman, Malapuni, the former chairman of the party, the governor of Yobe State, and a few others. There is no way that the governor of Zamfara would have joined APC. Neither would the governor of Cross River State, neither would I, neither would a number of senators and a number of other people. He opened the door. He welcomed us. He stood by us. And we're very proud of him. And that is what he is, a bridge builder. A man that reaches across ethnic and religious divides, even party lines, to welcome anybody that believes in a united Nigeria, and anybody that's prepared to do the right thing to keep this country together. I'll add this. A lot of people don't know the efforts he has made in terms of building bridges, even with those that felt that they were so aggrieved that this country ought to break up. Had it not been for him, again I say without any fear of contradiction, the agitation in the Southwest for secession would have been far more pronounced, but for the fact that he associated strongly, having got permission from the government to discuss issues, to bring peace and unity and build that bridge. And I know the efforts. A lot of things we can't say publicly at this point, but I know what he did, and I know the efforts he made. He saved lives. When people were being killed in Ibadan, I know the role that he played. When Hausa Fulanis were targeted in Ibadan, I know the concern that he had and the role that he played to reach out to those that were doing the killing. And when, of course, Southerners were attacked in the north, I know the role he played. But all these things we tend not to talk about. But in a political season, more and more will come out as each day goes by. So we're not here just to eulogize, at least I'm not. If there's something that I feel that I'm uncomfortable with, most people know me, I will say it to the individual privately, and if I have to say it publicly, I will do so. But with this one, I can assure you there are many, many hidden things that he has done. Somebody spoke about big names. Which names is the individual referring to? I really don't know. But what I'll tell you is this. You should go and read the Bible and find out what happened to Goliath when he stood before David. Because that's the situation that we're in right now. Take it or leave it. We have a man with the spirit of David in him who is capable of standing up to the giants in the land. We have a Joshua who is not intimidated by the giants in the land. We have a man that has said, enough is enough. I will build on the foundation that has been established. I will move Nigeria forward regardless of the challenges that I am faced with. We have a man who, in real time, as operations are going on in his state, to fight the terrorists and to stop them from carrying out the operations, he is following everything. I've been with him when reports are coming in. And he follows everything. Sometimes he goes in the field himself. I have, many governors. I've never known a governor to do this. We have a man who is prepared to risk his own life in the field of battle when it comes to taking on kidnappers and so on and so forth. I know of no other governor that would risk all that. There was a day I was with him, and I hope it's okay to say this, there was a day I was with him, and the reports of, I think it was one of his commissioners or some people in his government, were kidnapped. And he got the report on the phone, and I could see that his whole visage had changed. I asked him, what happened? He said, well, this is the report, and he was silent. And I said, so what will you do? And he looked at me, very cold stare. A stare you won't see here, because he's smiling like that. He has another side, very cold stare. And he said to me, we will not only ensure that every single person that has been kidnapped is saved, we will get them back, but we will also go after every single one of those that carried out this act. Do you know, a few days later, every single person had been, saved, and every single one of those that indulged in the kidnapping was eliminated during the operation. And I don't know how many leaders care so much. There are some that will say, well, the government should have done this, the government should have done that, something should have been built here, an army branch should have been built here, it's not my fault. Chief executive officers, chief security officers, some say that. But he does not. He takes responsibility. And I believe strongly that he will take all this to the federal level if he's given the opportunity to serve this country and to ensure that Nigeria moves forward. That's the vigor, that's the strength, that's the power that we need. I'll say one more thing. Very few politicians that I know would go to the home of somebody. It's a friend of his that passed on many years ago, well, a number of years ago. And he went there to commiserate. And when he got there, he saw one of the sons of the person that had passed on. Very young man, very young at the time. And there and then, he took him on and said, from today, I will be responsible for this young man's education, his life, everything about him. Just give him to me. And that young man himself told me the story. And I was so touched. He looked after him, he sent him to school, he educated him, he chaired his wedding, did everything for him. Not many people will do this. And let me tell you something. The man he did all this for is a Christian, whilst he is a Muslim. I don't know of many people, that is governors, that will build a church in a government house where a church had never been built before. Why? Because he saw Christians praying under the sun, under a tree, when he first became the governor of the state. He said he would do it. Few people believed him at the time, but he did it. And that church was commissioned, I believe, by the president of Cannes, and the whole of Christendom is celebrating him for that today. I could go on and on and on. Who is Yahaya Bello? He's a strong, decisive, focused, courageous man. He's not a youth. Many people say he's a youth. Tony Blair was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom when he was 41. Obama, President of America, when he was 41. I could go on and on. There are so many of them in the West particularly. Yes, you have a few that are much, much older. David Cameron, 41 or 42. These are very, very relatively young men. Well, he's considerably older than they are. And the truth of the matter is that though he's not a youth, he's a full-fledged adult, he's a full-fledged man that's capable of running not only his state, which he has proved, but capable of running this country very well. But he's sensitive to the plight of the youths. And I think that the youth themselves should acknowledge that and understand that it's about time that they had a friend, somebody that's sensitive to their plight in the villa, and not to have people over the years, have not considered their plight as much as this candidate would do. Finally, let me say this. His affinity and sensitivity towards women. I don't know of any other governor that has a female ADC, and he broke all barriers. It takes courage to do that. I can imagine what he went through, but he did it. And what a wonderful and efficient ADC she is. Very beautiful as well, very efficient. And I'm very proud of the fact that my friend could make that decision. He didn't stop there. His Secretary of State government is also a woman. Wonderful lady, excellent lady, highly educated, a professor. Very, very, very skillful at what she does. And she has done a great job. He chose a woman. I could go on and on. And now, of course, he appointed a DG to his presidential campaign, to the first Director General in the history for a campaign team in the history of Nigeria that is a female. Isn't that an extraordinary thing? I could go on and on and on. For the youths, he is the best. For the women, he is the best. For Nigeria, he is the best. For security, he is the best. And there are many people within the APC government and within the various APC governments and within the APC as a party who, by the time this thing gets hot and this fight gets tough, they will begin to tell you what they feel about Yahaya Bello, and they will acknowledge the fact that he is the one that we need in our party to fly our flag at the presidential elections. Let me end with this very briefly. It is not by accident. You know, I'm a spiritual man. That's why so many things happen and I tend to ignore a lot of things that go on around me. I focus on what God is doing and what God is saying, not what individuals are doing and saying. And that's why I've been strong over all these years. and been relevant. I left government 13 years ago, yet I still play this game. Now, let me tell you this. It's not by accident that the June 12th election took place in 1993, and it was Hope 93. 30 years later, 3 comes in, 30. 2023, we now have Hope 2023. It's not by accident, 30 years. It's not by accident that the same DG of Hope 93 has come back again in 2023 to fulfill what God has purposed him to do, and that is to ensure that somebody who is DG2 or he's the chairman of campaign organization 2 ends up being the president of Nigeria. It's not by accident. It's not by accident that the daughter of the June 12th hero, the man that won the election fair and square, is the DG of this campaign organization. These things are not contrived. It's not by accident that Yahaya Bello became governor of Kogi State under the circumstances that he did. It's not by accident. When it comes to power and leading this country, go and trace the history and the antecedents and the way in which every single democratically elected president emerged. And I'll put this to you, man had nothing to do with it. It was God that did it for each and every one of them. That God is still alive. And I put it to you, that God is the one that raised Yahaya Bello for this purpose. That God is the one that will fight the giants that somebody spoke about in our party and in the country and ensure that he prevails over them. That will ensure that he wins the nomination, he becomes the president of the Federal Republic next year, and the world that has written our country off, because many of them have, they don't want us to succeed. They will turn around and say, my goodness me, now they have a lion in the villa in Nigeria, and now things are going to change. So it shall be in Jesus' name. Thank you very much.
This is why His Excellency got him to be part of the campaign.